Isaac.
Oh, good morning.
Did you hear my daughter have a press on Isaac?
Oh, really?
Right? I think from what I've heard.
Well,
That's, be funny center, but.
oh, nice.
We had to start working with this. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. I know it's a lot to have to come out another time during the week, and I appreciate you coming. I was gonna just sit down here with you, but because I'm recording it, it like wasn't gonna catch me, so. No, you're not. You're fine.
Sure.
Yeah, I had a couple people who said, oh, I can't come, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna record it, and then if you want to watch it later, you can. Nothing like not like there's anything earth shattering happening tonight, but just some reminders and some things to go over. Their main theme that we kind of talked about was just kind of back to the basics, and that's kind of what they're gonna be talking about in there with the primary presidency also. But I thought I would just talk a little bit, first off, since this is, I mean, they've had this calling in the stake before, but it's been a while. Like, I don't remember someone having it since I've been in the stake, but I know that they had, Melody Hull is in my ward, and she was in the stake primary before me, and she said that they had one before she was called. So they have had somebody do this, but it's been a long time. And so there really wasn't someone to be like, okay, tell me what this calling looks like to you. And so have been a few things that we've come up with. I felt really strongly when I was called that I wanted to be to get to know you guys. And so that's kind of why I spent this summer coming to all your primaries. I think I've been to all of them except for one. The ward that has the 37th ward. I visited there when Allie Monson was teaching, but I didn't get a chance to go back when Foreman was, because some of you guys split up. And so that's been really helpful for me, because like I didn't know all the different ways that the different wards have things split up, and some wards only teach once, and so they like go to class first and then they have combined for all of them, and some split, and some have a leader that teaches the junior primary and one that teaches the senior, and some wards have it where one teaches for like 4 weeks and then another one teaches for 4 weeks for both junior and senior. And so it's just been really great to see like the different ways that every ward, chooses to do it and make things work. And it just shows you that like there's lots of good ways to make this calling work. And I love that. And it's also been really great to have FaceTime with all of you guys and get to know you better and see, how things work in your primary. And I just really enjoyed being able to kind of make that happen. So I think that that's probably what we're going to do going forward as far as like thinking of calendaring for the year. Our fall is really busy because we try to get to all the primary programs between the presidency and myself. There's quite a few that have multiple ones in a day this year. So we've got doubling up. So that means that we'll have to kind of divide and conquer, which is great. But that September, October, November season is kind of seeing primary programs. Then we're getting ready to come and take over for ward conferences. And so that lasts us for January, February, March, which they'll do the same thing, is my understanding this year. So we come and take over your ward's primary for the day so that all the adults can go to the ward conference. So that's, that takes up those 3 months. And then I'll probably do the same thing that I did this summer, because I just thought it was so great to be with all of you guys. And so I'll probably do visits again next summer before primary programs start. So I love being able to participate when I come. So please take advantage of that again next year if that's something that you would like. Not that you have to, but it's if you want help or you want, someone to demonstrate something different, or all the things that that we have in the closet. I'm happy to bring manipulatives or that kind of thing too. Unfortunately, I have had a couple of people ask me about subbing in their primary, and Amber and I kind of talked about it a little bit, because she had a situation where they were like asked as a presidency to sub an award also. And it just because there's just one of me, that doesn't really work for me to be a sub in your ward. So hopefully you have good subs that you can find in your own ward, or cultivate other subs, because it just, yeah, it just wouldn't, I mean, I would be in a different ward every week and I still have kids at home that I want to be at my ward with sometimes too. So, anyways, those are just some things we've kind of talked about as a presidency and the way some things have worked and maybe not worked so great. The one other thing that we kind of had talked about that I had mentioned in our last training and that we hear from other presidencies is that they love to be involved in singing time. It's kind of not the way that we grew up with primary, when it was like sharing time and the presidency, like, you know, had kind of those responsibilities during primary time together when they were all together. And so there isn't as much of an opportunity for them to be involved with the teaching with the kids as the way things are set up right now. Because mostly it really is the primary music leader who has a majority of the time with the kids when they're all combined. And so we have had many presidency members say, I would love to participate. I wish my music leader would use us more or whatever. And so, you know, we've talked about some of the things like in my training the last time, we showed like the matching things or whatever, where you can ask a primary presidency member to come in and help you. And they love that. I mean, anything that you can give them that might help them feel like that they're participating, you know, that's something to just kind of keep in mind that they do enjoy participating if you have things for them to do. And then as far as like back to the basics, I do have handouts for you that I'll give you at the end, but I just thought we would just go over some of the things that probably you already know, but maybe it's good to review to be a little bit more familiar with. In the back of the Come Follow Me manual, they actually have a whole section for every year. That's their Appendix C, and it's called for primary instructions for singing time and the children's sacrament meeting presentation, where they go over basically, you know, the guidelines of things that they have set out for doing singing time in general, and then also preparing for your music program for your ward. And one of the things that they're going to talk about in there and that we're going to talk about in here just for a minute is that they do have a very like they've spelled out how much they want time taking for different things in your primary. And one of the things that they talk about is that they want an opening exercises that's no more than 5 minutes, where the prayer, the scripture, or article of faith and a talk, all given by the kids. That's kind of like what they're really wanting to emphasize, including with like having the kids help be conducting and all of those other things that they're saying now that have been in our like general training also, like having the kids participate tonight was one of the reasons that they chose to do that. And then music time is supposed to be 20 minutes. So why do you think that they have it divided like that? Why do you think that they're trying to give so much time to music and just such a small amount of time in the beginning for other things?
I just think music is what it's all about. I mean, when I think about my own testimony, I think about all the songs that I learned growing up, and I think they just really want to drill that in and have those kids learn music.
Yeah, I think so too. Chrissy, and they're spending time in their class, or they're getting instruction just like being talked to or whatever, but the singing time is different, right? Singing time is you're incorporating that, but it's just in a different way. And hopefully in a way that's active and maybe different than what they're doing in their classes, right? So, I mean, 20 minutes isn't a lot, you know, when you're trying to prepare for the program eventually, you know. I mean, I would always try to get like maybe 3 songs in a music singing time if I could. And if you're hitting those 3 songs regular, you know, hitting different songs regularly, then hopefully you're getting the repetition that it takes to have that. So, anyways, so just, you know, that's kind of what the goal is there, is to manage having about 20 minutes of singing time every week to be able to get to those things. One of the other things that they said in there says, seek the help of the Spirit as you prepare to teach the gospel through music, and share your testimony of the truths you sing about. Help the children see how the music relates to what they are learning and experiencing at home and in primary classes. So, I mean, a couple of things in there. I really liked where it said, seek the help of the Spirit as you prepare to teach and and share your testimony, but also help the children see how the music relates to what they're learning and Come Follow Me in general, right? And so, you know, if you're prepared and you know what the Come Follow Me lesson is in your own homes and family for the week, I think it just organically happens that while you're talking about the songs that are suggested for that month in primary, or the songs that you've chosen to do with your primary presidency, if they're not the suggested ones, then it's very easy to bring in those gospel truths and help them relate to what those Come Follow Me lessons are. And being able to say like, oh, and Come Follow Me this week, and talking about the song and having them understand how those relate. So, and I think it can be very easy to share your testimony about a song, or I feel like when I was teaching every week and in this calling regularly, there would, I feel like, be almost at least one of the 3 songs every week I would feel the Spirit while I was teaching the kids. And I would feel like, helping them recognize, hey, do you feel that the Spirit when you're singing the song? That's what it feels like to me. And I have a testimony about whatever the song is about. And so I think those things can happen very, organically also, just very easily helping them recognize when they feel the Spirit, and what that feels like to them, because it doesn't always feel the same to everybody. And so when you can feel it and help them recognize, and they can help know that like, oh, that's what the Spirit feels like to me. Let's see. They also say singing time is different from class time. During singing time, children learn as they actively engage in singing. Primary music leaders teach gospel principles, but they do so primarily through music. And that's also in the, part of that comes from the general handbook. Also, I referenced that there on the handout. But the actively engaging in singing. I mean, you guys, I've visited all your wards. You're doing such a great job. I mean, that's another great thing about one of the reasons why I think that they're encouraging it to be 20 minutes is they just sat in sacrament meeting, and those little bodies have such a hard time sitting for a really long period of time, especially our younger learners, right? And so doing things that are active, helping them move their bodies, helping them be actively engaged in the singing time, I think is so important, because it not only, teaches them the songs, but it also helps them learn in a different way than what they're learning when they're just hearing someone teach a lesson, or when they're listening in sacrament meeting. And those different ways of learning, can impact their spirits and help them understand the music and engage with the music in a different way than how they're engaging in other, in other ways that they learn. So I think that that's really important as we're thinking about actively engaging during singing time. Let's see. It also says that you teach songs to the children, invite them to share what they have already learned about the stories and doctrinal principles that the song teaches, and invite the children to share their thoughts and feelings about the truths found in the songs. I remember in the 19th ward that when I was there, Becca had like a sign that like talked about, helped them like talk about like what their testimony was, or something they had a testimony about in that song. I thought that was such a great idea, because then it helps them connect and be like, oh yeah, that's what the song's teaching, and that's actually what I believe. And giving them the chance to say, to just verbalize that in a way where it's almost like, a precursor to being able to give their own testimony later, right? And just being able to say like, oh, when I hear this song and this, yeah, I have a testimony about that, or I believe in that, or I know this about this song or this principle. And it's just a really great way to help them start being able to verbalize and talk about what their testimony is and the things that they believe and know for themselves. So, I mean, I don't know that I was actually really great about doing that when I was a music leader, but I really appreciated the opportunity to think about that and to see that example in that word Rebecca had done that, because I was like, yeah, that makes sense, and there's reasons why that they're encouraging them to do that and having them have the opportunity, not just for you to hear your own testimony, but to give them the opportunity for them to start being able to do those things on their own too. Does anybody have any like experience or examples or anything like that where you feel like you've done something that works well like that, or where you feel like you had an experience where that worked well for you as far as letting the kids share their testimony. That's okay if you don't, but.
No, it's a good idea.
Okay, all right, well, so there is maybe a takeaway for us. And then I thought it would be, so one of the other things that they talk about the program review. And they say, practices should not take unnecessary time away from primary classes or families. And that's kind of gonna look different depending on what you and your presidency decide that you're going to do and what you talk about doing. Sometimes we've seen using a Sunday where you don't go to class that Sunday and you all practice it together, or sometimes it's like meeting during the week. I've seen that before where on youth night, they have all the primary kids come on youth night at like 6 or something. And so the primary kids come and practice in the chapel and what that's gonna look like, and then they leave and the youth come at 7. So families are kind of combining to just one night that week for that. I've seen wards where they do it on Saturdays. It feels like Saturdays were really hard when I was most recently in this calling, because I feel like there's a lot in the fall of different activities that parents are trying to get kids to. And so I feel like our ward kind of transitioned at one point to doing it on a weeknight because they nice to get to some weeknight practice than it was to try to do a set practice. So there's lots of ways that can look, and whatever your ward has decided to do about that, but just that's kind of what the directions say is it's probably not appropriate to do multiple weeks where you're practicing during church time and those kind of things. So there's some options in there of things that you can do, but they don't want to take unnecessary time away from class time or unnecessary time away from families too. What is there other ideas or suggestions of things that your ward does for review that you would like to share or you feel like works well? Okay,
Well,
I'll keep talking.
I just think most people do it on Sunday, for the most part, probably.
Yeah,
Just a couple of weeks, so like maybe twice or something like that.
yeah,
I mean, everyone does it different.
okay, well,
We're just doing that on a Friday, like, after school.
oh, that's
Yeah.
nice. After school time is a
Yeah.
great idea, yeah. Yeah, great, that's awesome. Yeah, and then that's probably not, a lot of families have things going on too, so that's another good time to do it, so. Yeah, great, I appreciate you sharing that. And then, as far as like, the next little bit is just the stuff that talks about kind of like how you plan the program and kind of the steps that they suggest you take when you're doing that. It says, with the direction of the bishop, the children's sacrament meeting presentation is normally held during the 4th quarter of the year, as the primary presidency and music leader work with the counselor and the bishopric who oversees primary to plan the presentation. So, I mean, I've seen this done multiple different ways about how that works and how the presidency and the music leader work together and, loop in the bishopric member for talking about what the songs are. But I don't know what works for you and kind of what is, I thought it would be maybe good for you guys to take some opportunities to share like what works for you and how does your ward, do that.
I'm just giving free wish.
Yeah,
Bishop, primary president, they just like, I mean, I pass it by. Yeah, great.
The songs, or do you help write the
Songs.
program?
Sarah wrote it last year, she's got her new job, so I'm gonna kind of give it a go and give it to them and they'll fix and do whatever.
so you do the speaking parts and you also
Not
decide on the
normally,
songs.
but
Oh,
just here's the circumstances this year.
okay,
I have a little more time than she does, so I'm like, I know, I'll give it a go and then just hand it over to her and then they can. Succeed.
yeah. And I kind of had that experience more when I've had this calling several times and like in the early 2000s when I had this calling, it was more like that for me. But when I had it most recently in our ward, our primary presidency wanted to take a lot more active role in choosing which songs that they wanted to do. which is great. I mean, it says, you know, in concert with your presidencies or whatever. But so I had never done it that way before, but we like met together. They said, well, why don't you come to us with like a suggestion of the songs that you'd like to do? And so I looked over what the suggestion songs were for the year, kind of decided, oh, I'd like it to be this one and this one. Here's some ones that aren't in the suggestion because I do actually really love some of the, you know, like Angie Killing and Shauna Edwards stuff that are just so great. And I kind of came with some of those that I wanted to do. And, you know, they had like one or two songs that they're like, oh, we'd love if we could make this work in this. And, you know, it was kind of a more collaborative process, I would say, than like, you know, what I was used to doing it kind of more like what Jessica's talking about.
Yeah, they did give me suggestions. Yeah, I don't know, it just seems.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a thing.
That's great. Anybody else have any feedback or anything that you feel like works well with the way you do it, or?
I just have followed, I mean, I've worked with two presidencies now. The first one wanted to do it one way and the second one wanted to do it a different way. And so
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be there
Yeah,
and just do it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't really want to do it.
and it's the same kind
They
of
want to
thing.
be involved, great, if they don't. then-
Yeah, it's just good to see that there's lots of different ways for it to work.
Seems like
So-
the bishops don't really care.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know, I haven't had a
I've not
really.
had the
I'm
bishops
like, what
involved.
about this optional item, or this is a little like out of the box, and it's like, sure, go for it.
Yeah.
They're pretty.
yeah, I felt like our bishop was really supportive with things that I wanted to do too. And, yeah, I mean, I just think that you figure out how it works best for you, and, you know, if, you know, you have a presidency, you want to do it one way or whatever, then that's what we did. It's like, I feel like we can be very flexible as far as like how it works out, and I feel like when we did it, it was kind of like what you're saying, the bishopric just kind of rubber stamped it after we said this is what we want to do, and there wasn't a whole lot of like, you know, input as far as like, what about this or what about that, they were just like, okay, yeah, this is great, so. All right, well,
Matt Smith's our bishop, and he reviewed a couple of the songs closely because they're not in the music
Yeah.
manual or what they call handbook, or
mhm,
I guess not handbook, kind of music book. And in the handbook it says it's not in the book.
yes, yeah,
So that's as much as you ever need our bishop,
yeah,
and hopefully that's what it's I.
sure, yeah, and that's.
Approval.
Yeah, that's great. I was gonna talk, that's actually on the list of things to talk about too. So it's interesting where it says it in a couple different places. Like it says the fourth quarter in this appendix in the Come Follow Me, but like in the general handbook, it says during the last few months of the year. So it gives you a little bit more leeway. And I was just gonna mention that because I did say to you how there's a bunch in September and then a bunch in November. And so I know every ward does it different, but one great thing about doing it in September in this state is that we've got general conference at the beginning of October, then we've got state conference the next Sunday, and then the third week is usually fall break. And so that makes it very challenging, as I'm sure all of you know, if you've had that situation where you're like, that's like 3 weeks off where you're missing, either you're not meeting at all, or you're missing a good portion of kids because they're at fall break. And so I just feel like you've got all this momentum and then you're like, okay, everybody, hopefully you're remembering all of those. And then you come back and then, you know, so October really doesn't work that great in our state for having the primary program. So anyways, I just feel like bishops and whatever are usually pretty understanding of those situations. I felt like when I was first called, like I had a primary president who was more like, oh, this is what it says, this is what we should do. And then I kind of was more like, okay, well, I get that it says the third quarter, but let's just have a conversation about what that looks like and why that's actually really hard for me when we do it in the third quarter or in the fourth quarter, because it would be actually really great if we could do it in September. And then once I like kind of explained my point of view and whatever, then they were like, oh yeah, that actually makes sense. Why don't we do it in September? And then as the music leader, it was really great for me because yeah, we had those 3 weeks off after we did the primary program, but then I could come back and do more fun things and like start Christmas, start Thanksgiving, do some more things that we just don't have time for. Where if I was pushed into like November, or even we've had, ones that are have been in December last year, we had at least one in December last year, then you lose all of that time to be doing other stuff because you're just feeling so like we gotta be practicing for the program. So anyways, I don't know how your board does it, but it's just, I just thought I would put that out there that like, I feel like being able and willing to have a conversation as far as like, hey, this is why it's kind of hard for me, or can we talk about why, why it's this, and can we maybe do something different next year or whatever. I think you should feel more than, if you feel strongly about something, then I feel like it's okay. You're in this calling for a reason. And so, if you feel strongly like something, I'm gonna try something different, then I hope you feel like you could, have that conversation with your presidency and kind of explain your viewpoints on that. I also really think that it's important to get on the calendar in the early part of the year so the ward can plan sacrament meetings and missionary farewells and homecomings around that. I've found in my experience that when I haven't made a big effort to like get a certain date on the calendar, then it's more of like fluid, and they're like, how about you do this? And oh, we forgot about that or whatever. Whereas if the whole ward council is bought in January that like this is when it's happening, then everybody just knows that, and that's the primary program day. That's what you're working for. That's what the board's gonna plan around, just like they would plan around any other Sunday that's on the calendar. So I do think that is one area where the Bishop member can be very helpful in saying like, hey, we want to get this on the calendar, and this is when we'd like to do it, and just want to make sure that that's going to work out, and just so that the whole board planning people are on the same page with that. So that might be a suggestion for you. And then also, yeah, sure.
I don't know where to put this question. I'm actually not the music leader in my ward.
Oh, yeah.
They're not here, so I think
Yeah.
I would just
totally.
be here. And I don't know how serious my music leader was, but she's like, oh, I'm trying to convince, I don't know who she's trying to convince, but she wants to like, we're singing this little light of mine,
Yes.
which is like a gospel choir song.
Yes.
And she's like, she wants to have clapping in it. Would that be inappropriate?
So
So
it's up to the bishop. Yeah, and I've seen wards where they have done it, and other wards where the bishop was like, no, I don't feel like that's
Yeah.
appropriate. So it really is up to whatever
Really
the
open it
discretion.
up to like, it used to be very strict, but like instruments.
Yeah,
are played.
an accordion in mine.
Oh my gosh, we should be able to clap because.
She's like, whoa,
Yeah.
We had to get one to play the guitar to somebody accompanying in our ward this last
Yeah,
Sunday.
guitars they've
So,
been able to use for a long time, but like they used to not let you have like any like brass instruments, and now it's like you can do that. So
Yeah.
I don't,
yeah, so it really is up to the bishop. I mean, I'm in the,
it's kind of late, I don't know, it
Yeah.
might be too late for us to
If
incorporate.
you don't win,
clapping.
concession could be snapping. And not being the, not
I mean,
quite
that-
as loud.
Hey, we have like 20 kids, so I'm no snapping and shit. They're gonna hear me snapping.
yeah, but I mean, I think I've talked to you guys before at other trainings about that, teach a child a song, that Facebook page that used to be Charlotte Dance Teaching Methods or whatever, but they renamed it. And like, there's quite a few conversations that have happened in there where people have said, our bishop gave us permission to clap, or other ones that said, we wanted to clap, but they said it wasn't appropriate in sacrament meeting. So it really, I mean, it's like all over, it just
Okay.
kind of,
So
you're
I'm just
up to your
asking,
local
ask
leader.
them,
Yeah,
ask them. Our, yeah, we'll see. It's too
Yeah.
late.
It's not too
Yeah,
late to
It's
like
not,
ask
it's
the
never
bishop.
too late, but I'm saying, like, we have our, it's in 2 weeks, so.
oh, yeah,
But yeah.
that's okay.
I will-
Especially if they've been practicing with it already.
We have not been practicing.
Oh,
with
well,
that,
that's
so-
okay.
so-
Yeah.
I was just,
Yeah,
curious, so.
yeah.
I will have-
I think it's just up to whatever your bishop, his preference there. I don't think it's really like cut and dry, and there's a lot of variation in there. Let's see, we did talk a little bit about the, Peter mentioned about the approval of the songs from the bishop, or ones that aren't on the list for the year or aren't already in the primary or the hymn book. I was gonna show you guys, because we talked a little bit about okay, how many people in here are on the group me for primary music leaders that we created? Okay, so there's some are than some that are not. So I actually forgot that I was using my phone to record, but in your app, if you have your phones with your app with the music for the churches, it has a music app. And if you click in there, on the very first home screen, if you scroll down, you'll see music from church magazines. And if you click into there, then you can click into music from the friend. And it actually shows you all of the songs by date. So when I was in there first a few weeks ago, it actually showed like one that was gonna be published in December. So ones that were coming up, but it has all the ones that have been published in order. And sometimes they have links to videos or, you know, audio recordings for them that are already preloaded. So that's actually a really great resource. And you can use any of those without getting permission. But then like Peter said, some of these other ones, like the Andy Killian or Shauna Edwards ones, you can just like, you know, run by your bishop and ask if they feel like they would give approval for that. I was going to show you real quick, and I'm gonna go through this part really fast because they wanted us to come back in for the part at the end, but I'm gonna pass these out to you. And actually, you just take one and pass it down. If you have somebody from your ward that you co-teach with who isn't here tonight, you're welcome to take a handout for them too. But that has the list of songs for Old Testament year in it. I don't know how many of you are already thinking ahead towards next year, but I thought I would put that out there for you. Where's that? On the back side. And so those are all the ones that the church has that they suggest, but I taught Old Testament year 4 years ago as a music leader in my ward, and I thought I would just show these to you if you haven't seen them. I think we did one of these, maybe for such a time as this, we might have done for the program. But I love these Shauna Edwards ones because some of them are really fun and peppy. And I got approval to teach them in primary, but like I wasn't gonna teach them to do for the sacrament program, but they went along so good with what they were teaching in Come Follow Me with the Doctrine, that I thought I would just show you, like, this creation song is so cute. But just letting you know that like you can get approval for ones that even you're just gonna teach in primary, even if you're not doing them for the program, but there are other ones that you're like, hey, this actually goes along with what they're teaching and here's some other ideas. She has a whole, I forgot I had to get on here. Let's try this again.
Is that just under her YouTube account or something?
Yeah, so she has a YouTube account that has, and you can go and purchase them on her website. And so, okay, that's not what I wanted.
Advent.
I had it just seconds
Was it
ago.
God's love?
Oh, yeah, where is it? Oh, thank you so much. Yes. No, it was, well, this is a good one too. So here's the Noah one. This is peppy too, and it's fun. But there's the creation one too.
Was a righteous man who lived in a wicked world. He rolled the guard, protect his blood, and seen that nobody heard. When he looked and knocked, they mocked him, but the flood would come, he knew. So he roared it all externally, and the animals two by two. Oh no, thankful of his sins. Oh no, showed us. We're blessed when we obey, we're blessed when we obey. To make you count, and how was it to do?
Okay, so I mean, that's just kind of like an option to show you of some ones that are, oh, here it is up at the top. Here, I'll just show you this creation one too, because this one's really cute.
In the first verse of the Bible, we read these wondrous words. In every living God created, the heaven and the earth. Every time we look at us, we can see His love displayed in every single thing He made. He made the night and the day, the sun and the rain, the mountains and the morning dew. He made the rivers that flow and the flowers that grow. Fireflies and fishes.
So anyway, there's just some fun, peppy ones that are just more fun and like actually teach the gospel, but just like in a different way. And the book downloads, if you go to them, they have like, they will give you like the flip charts, so you can take the pictures and do different things with the pictures too. So anyways, I just thought I would throw some of those ideas out there about some things that aren't necessarily in the, you know, suggestions, but there are other things out there that you can get approval of too. So I guess they are ready for us, so we're just gonna go ahead and go back in over there. And if you have any other questions or anything that you want to share afterwards or whatever, come find me. Yeah.
How far over can we go in the primary program? How far do you find yourselves going over?
In second meeting,
Yeah,
I think 5 minutes is 5 to 10 minutes, it's fine.
do we, I mean, I feel like it's hard because you're just moving the kids around, and by the time they see the songs and the kids say the dialogue, like. Do we have to really end on that hour? Like how like,
Yeah, I mean, it might be also like, do you have a word coming in after you? Like, I mean, I don't know. That's something I think you should talk to your bishop about and see like what
They
they
try to
say.
keep it pretty high.
Say, do the
Yeah.
program.
They really wanna try to do that, I think, but.
Yeah,
And melt.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's such a good idea. I think
it's
like,
kind of.
like even like the state president was there for like the thing, and he was like,
Yeah.
we gotta shut this down.
yeah.
I mean, it was like him doing it, and he was like that.
Yeah,
Not
a
the same,
lot of
like, like,
kids in
not
our
the same.
senior, and we sang 9 songs last year, and we were within.
Yeah. And you can dialogue too. I mean, most of it is the singing, right? And so if there's parts that are too long or whatever, I mean, I've seen it where they just, each kid only had like one little line that they said, and everyone got a turn, but like it wasn't a really long speaking part. So I think there's a lot of things you can do for time. All right, we'll go in.
I was like, yeah, that way, but for now they don't, so. It's like, literally, like, somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
It's not that bad, honestly, keeps them like, it's really easy to do it, if you're young and tiny, so you're like, they're easy to take. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, of course. Thanks for coming, you guys.
How many of our primaries have we